Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming today. It is a pleasure for me to share some of my experience in this amazing world of architectural facades. I am Bill Marshall. We are facade consultants. We have offices in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Madrid, and the United States. Here are some images about the facades that we have done during the last 30 years all around the world. We have projects, facade projects in America, in Europe, and in Asia as well. We have done projects with these companies, and we have been involved in this kind of projects, different types of buildings. We mainly do four kinds of activities: design, quality control, forensics, and some education and research like we are going to share with you today. Today, I would like to share with you my experience and comments about innovation in facades. But first of all, we need to start trying to answer the question, what is innovation? According to my friend, Dr. Ayla Axamicha, innovation is the process of introducing changes to methods, services, or products. Innovation and technological changes are complementary in nature, since innovation relies heavily on technological and scientific developments. So let's go into the subject. Imagining future facades. When we think about innovation in facades, we are all the time trying to anticipate what is going to be innovated. Sometimes innovation comes by chance, involuntarily, like the PPB invention. You know, PPB came by chance. And sometimes it is our decision. It is your decision. You are committed to innovate. At the beginning of the innovation process, you feel committed and you feel excited, but at the same time, you feel insecure. You are not sure where you're going to end. Like this boy in the image, he is committed to go a step forward, but he doesn't know where is he going to end. Talking about innovative facades, and the very first question, what does it take? What do we need to have an innovative facades? We have to bear in mind that facades, perhaps, are the only part of the building that merge culture and technique. No other part of a building has such a deep link with culture as facades. What is required to have innovation in facades? We have, on one hand, cultural inspiration. We need to have inspiration coming out from the situation, the community, special situations. And of course, on the other hand, innovation with materials and technologies, the tools, the ways that we are going to take in order to achieve an innovative facade. Of course, innovative facades, they have a special moment in history, in the history of the community where they popped up, and of course the location. And there's always, and this is probably the main issue that I would like to point out, there is always an idea or a message behind an innovative facade. I prepared a short trip through the history, visiting some innovative facades and what they were trying to tell us. And I would like to start with this impacting image of Reinhard Banham in 1965, where he devised that the idea that a home is not a house. This environmental bubble, with very little exaggeration, this Baroque ensemble of domestic gadgets tells the internal complexity of contemporary living. Although this idea came up almost 50 years ago, I think it's still active. I think we can formulate the same idea today. The house itself has been omitted from the drawing, but if mechanical services continue to accumulate, it may be possible to omit the house, in fact. This gives us formal freedom. The power, again, the power of innovation lies in the idea behind it. Although this was an utopia, but we are going to see that it is not so crazy. Things like, for example, we start our quick trip with one of my favorite buildings and facades, which is the Crystal Palace by Joseph Paxton in London in 1851. This is almost 170 years ago. The idea behind this facade was to show and sail. And the feature that gave materiality to this was the cast iron and the glass, some basic materials for nowadays architecture. The world of that time needed to exhibit and market the products and display examples of technology developed during the Industrial Revolution. Designed by Joseph Paxton, the Great Exhibition Building was 500 meters long, and it was 3 times the size of St. Paul's Cathedral. The introduction of the sheet glass method into this building was made possible by the production of large sheets of cheap but strong glass. Following another example that I find very informative about this theory that I have, that there's always an idea behind an innovative facade. And I take this case, Casa Batlló, from Antoni Gaudí in Barcelona. The idea behind this was just to display a fantastic mythical representation. And the feature were natural forms, curved lines with traditional materials used in a different way. The representation here is for St. George and the Dragon. You know, St. George is St. Jordi in Barcelona and is the patron of Barcelona. Continuing our trip, we come to 1909 with Frank Lloyd Wright Robbie House in Chicago, where the idea here was to connect the people with nature, to connect the nature with the indoor life. And the feature, the remarkable feature, was to disassemble the box that was the common for the family homes at that time. So he extended the walls, he extended the roofs, he opened windows in the corners where it was a very innovative idea at that time. But the idea behind, there was a strong idea behind that was connect the nature with indoor life. Bear in mind that there were some pandemias at that time already ended, and tuberculosis was affecting most of the planet, and they found that ventilation, natural ventilation and sunlight was very important for the health of the occupants of the buildings. We come to 1952 with this famous Unité d'Habitation de Le Corbusier in Marseille. There was a strong trend in order to protect from the environment at that time. So this facade uses a lot of, or a huge array of tools for protecting from the environment. This one of the first buildings to use in a massive way insulated glass units. It has balconies, it has sunscreens, it has curtains, grids. It's almost a catalog of different shading devices that we can have in a facade. All of them pointing to the same strong idea: environmental protection and living inside the same building, 1952. Although this was not built, I find that this is a very innovative facade at that time, 1998, 22 years ago. This is the Malibu Video Beach House by Michael Jensen. Michael Jensen devised that in the lot that he was designing this house was obstructing the view from the road to the ocean. So he thought that transforming the main facade of the house in a large screen to reproduce what the building was hiding was his first idea. He didn't want his building to block the marvelous and fantastic views of the Pacific Ocean. He wanted to make disappear the building. But at the same time, you can record daytime images and play back them at night. And sunny days, you can record them and can be played on cloudy days, which was an unexpected result of this innovative facade. Then we come to 1999, another of my favorite buildings. The idea that was born at that time was the prosumer idea. You know, prosumer is combination of production, producer, and consumer. And this is the Mount Cenis Academy from Bureau Jourdain and Perrodin in Herne, Germany. It's a group of several buildings enclosed in this timber and glass box. It's a huge building, 180 meters by 72 meters and 16 meters high. The design of the academy broke new ground as well. It's an in-house design. The various buildings that we have inside, like academy, library, and different classrooms, are enclosed in this glass envelope. So they do not need any protection against rain. Simple wood structures were sufficient. This microclimate shell reduces energy consumption, but at the same time is covered by 14,000 square meters of silicon cells integrated in the glass. At that time, it was the largest roof with integrated photovoltaic system in the world. Today, this building is still working, and the energy systems produce twice as much energy as the academy itself consumes. Again, the idea behind this was that the consumer produces the energy that he consumes. Going back again to poetry, 1999, Hotel Portafira, Toyo Ito, and B720 from Barcelona. They devised this magnificent tower hotel. And the idea behind was to make a homage to celebrate Gaudi's Barcelona mansards and roofs, and also ruled surfaces. And the feature here was to achieve this idea with a double skin with a very, very singular geometry. Different window sizes and the red color. It's a double skin. Very innovative at that time too. Another example of innovation in Spain, Fundación del Pino, Rafael de la Hoz in Madrid. The architect wanted at that time urban office floors floating in the city, and he devised a building where there were no columns inside, no columns obstructing the interiors. On the left-hand side of the screen, you have a look at the interior offices, no columns inside. All the columns are outside the building. And on the other hand, the geometry of the columns were trying to mimic in some way the trees that are in the surrounding area, which are wonderful. So this is another good example of innovation. Well, this famous building, the Apple Store in New York, in Fifth Avenue by Bolin, Sibwinski, and Jackson, tells the idea that Apple is in the air everywhere, which surprisingly, it seems to be true. But in 2006, the architects and the client, I am sure as well, were intended to put Apple in the air. And the best way to do it was to support it with an invisible structure. And this work was done by glass. And the special feature in this innovative facade were the glass connections. You do not see any connection between glasses. And on the other hand, the structural use of the glass and extra large panes of glass. We come to the Olympic Games in China, 2008, another innovative facades. The famous water cube by Herzog and de Meuron in Beijing. This building was intended to house all the water sports. And what is the best way to resemble the water sports, if not with bubbles? So they devised the idea of making a facade, not only the facade, but also the roof with bubbles. And what's the feature? Air cushions. Air cushions are a new technology emerging at that time that let the architects make their idea of a bubble building come true. Another innovative facade, Meitzil. This is a shopping center by Maximiliano Fuchsgas in Frankfurt, Germany. And the idea here was, you know, shopping centers want you to be inside. They want you to get in. Once you are in, they are sure that you are going to buy something. So the architect play with this flow of interior and exterior. You are not sure where is the outside. You are not sure if you are outside a building or inside. And he achieved this with this new type of structure with a single layer. You can see that the exterior penetrates in the interior of the building and runs all through the way inside the mall. 2009. 2013, again, the prosumer idea, but now we are talking about zero carbon emissions. And this big house bei Splitterwerk, Label für blinde Kunst from Graz, and Arup Deutschland is in Hamburg. And it's a facade completely dressed with paints of algae that produce chemical reaction and produce energy. Let me share with you a short video about this.
This building in Hamburg, Germany, is entirely powered by algae. Inside these glass panels is a green liquid in which you can see the bubbles rising to the surface. This is the result of having a bioreactor built into the facade, which heats the 15 flats in the building. The motor is microalgae, and the principle is photosynthesis.
Okay, let's move forward. 2018. Steve Jobs Theater by Foster and Partners in Cupertino, California. This is a look in the history of architecture, because we're coming back again to the point where we left with Adler and Sullivan in Chicago in the early days of the skyscrapers, that the envelope is the load-bearing structure. In this fantastic building, the main hall is in the ground floor and the theater is underground. And the main hall should be with a vertical invisible envelope, because the surroundings were very nice and they wanted to have a special sensation of being entering in a building, but at the same time staying outside. And they achieved this with a special feature of a transparent load-bearing envelope. The whole roof is supported by this kind of glass cup of 46 pieces of curved glass. Another example, 2018. Public media art. Just go. There's no water inside that building, just a screen. Well, another example, 2018, automatic interaction between users and environment. That's the idea. Or The Shed by Dealers Cofidio and Renfro in New York. You have a building that can be on and off. It's a movable building. It's a movable envelope. And it has been done with a special feature with these air cushions with ETFE, envelope sliding. So we come to an end of my short trip, but there are thousands of examples that you can find in the history of architecture, of innovative facades, if you couple an idea and a special feature behind. And what is the special feature? Of course, it's a three-leg stool. We need technologies, we need the idea, we need technologies. And technologies are available now, like finite element analysis for a precise design of special shapes and geometries, and a special structural analysis and calculations. We also have the famous parametric design that helps us to design wherever we would like to. And we can achieve facade like this one that we have done with JSA architects from Mexico for the Liverpool shopping center in Puebla, in Mexico. We also have wonderful environmental analysis tools that that they can tell you precisely how much energy are you going to gain from the sun at any precise date of the year and time of the day. So, and there are some other technologies like 3D printing or additive manufacturing, where we find news every day, new materials that can be worked with 3D printing. They started with plastic, but now we have concrete, we have glass, we have metals that can be 3D printed. And of course, new materials. There's a huge array of new materials coming now, like advanced concrete with high strength concrete, composite concrete, self-cleaning concrete. We have advanced glasses, spectrally selective coatings, dynamic glass, vacuum insulated glass, thin glass, advanced in metals like aluminum foam and composites, advances in biomaterials, laminated timber, wood composites, self-healing materials, cellulosic insulation. New materials like phase change materials, ETFE membranes, shape memory metal alloys, photovoltaics, thermoelectrics, graphene. There are hundreds of groups all around the world doing research and development for new materials. Some examples: fiber reinforced polyester, fiberglass reinforced polyester, where you can do linear elements, or flat panels to address this marvelous building, the Metropolitan Museum of San Francisco. Graphene, it's a crystal carbon where the atoms are displayed in a hexagonal way, and it's a very, very strong material, about 200 times more resistant than structural steel. Thin glass, where we can have flexible glass less than 1 millimeter thick. Smart glass, dynamic glass that can change its shading coefficient regarding any outside stimulus. Concluding, I would like to make you think about the time we are living now, where this sculpture in Amsterdam resembles, for me, what's going on with the society, not only the screens and the smartphones, but also the physical distancing. So I would like to finish my presentation with a question. Are we coming into the same situation as Rainer Banham in 1965? I let you with a question. Thank you very much.